So earlier I did a video where I talked about how Tony Khan lost the plot and AEW Dynasty kind of proves it. Well, I also watched a short, not short, but a clip that JD from NY206 put on his JD from NY206 Shorts channel, or his JD from JD from NY2 Shorts channel here on YouTube. And basically he named it correctly and amply justified. He went into God mode. He went into rage mode. And he, along with Jesse, Jesse was more calmer out of the two. That being heel Jesse, Chi-Town Mark. You know, he was more calmer out of the two, but JD just let it loose. He just let it be known how he felt about the whole, ending of Dynasty and how the pay-per-view was nothing more than a glorified collision, in his opinion, or a glorified Dynamite. And you can't blame him if you watch the pay-per-view. Heck, I was considering it, but like I said in the title of my recent video before this, I'm glad I didn't spend my $25 Amazon gift card on paying for half of that, and I got something better instead. That being a battery for my computer and the Cyber Acoustic headphones I could use for the Meta Quest 3S when I get it, as well as for the Nintendo Switch. But be that as it may, the thing is, basically, I don't blame JD for being angry. I don't blame Solomonster for being pissed off. You can see the pissed off look on his face at the beginning of his review. Or even Alex Hicks, just Alex, formerly Deluxe Man. I don't blame him. I don't blame anybody. Because, because here's the interesting point. Or here's the interesting thing here. Obviously, everybody hated the ending of Dynasty. Just like they hated the ending of Revolution. But here's the thing too. Excuse me. Here's the thing too. They never said, because they do have contacts with people like Fightful and PW Insider and even Dave Meltzer and such. They never let any of them in to how long Jon Moxley's reign as champion was going to be. Fightful put out an article today that stated it was going to be a lengthy run. The only question was, how lengthy? Because everybody has different points of view of how long a title reign could be. If you say it's going to be a lengthy title reign, what's your equivalent of that? What's your point of view of that? Is it 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, a year, 2 years? What is it? Give somebody a timeline. Give somebody a timeline of how long the title reign is going to be so they can prepare themselves and say, okay, we knew John was going to win because he's planned to have this long of a reign. Give them an idea. Don't hide it from anybody. Don't say, oh, it's a lengthy time and not give them a timeline. Okay? Because everybody right now is guessing all in Texas is when it's all going to culminate in one big massive, I guess you could say AEW version of last year's WrestleMania, main event with Cody and Roman. That's what they're thinking it's going to be, because Tony Khan wants to prove he's better. And we don't even know if that's true. We thought that was true at WrestleMania 39. Didn't happen. It happened a year later. Is that what they're going to get this year? We don't know. We don't know. Excuse me. But here's what's interesting too. You're reading about this, you're hearing about this. And then on top of that, you have Will Ospreay, as I said in the previous video, coming out in an interview, telling the people on the podcast he's being interviewed on, or radio station he's being interviewed on, that what makes AEW different than anybody else is their 90% wrestling, 10% story. You can't make it work that way. You got to be both. You got to be balanced out, okay? You got to be 50-50. Maybe, I don't know, maybe 45, 50, 50, you got to be 50-50, or you got to be 45-55, whatever you want to call it. Okay, you got to be basically kind of balanced out to where you have both. And I said it in the previous video, and everybody has said this. AEW has athletically the best wrestling roster on the planet. And believe it or not, they also potentially have the best overall roster on the planet if Tony Khan would just let those men and women do more than just do what they do in the ring. Because yes, they're great wrestlers, they can put on banger matches, but where's the substance? Where's the gist of it that brings people in? Where's that total package that we know they have? Where is it? It's nowhere to be seen. You're only giving us basically 1/4 of a meal, if you will, of a full meal by just letting them wrestle. Yeah, you have storylines here and there, but where's the rest? Where's that full course meal for that talent? You're not serving it, are you? You're not allowing them to serve it to the audience. And why? Because your main priority, Tony Khan, from the beginning, is you want to prove that AEW is a pure pro wrestling company first, everything else second, when you should have known better. I mean, the reason people tuned into you for the past, not the past 5 years, but for the first couple of years, is what not only were you an alternative to the dreary Vince McMahon-led WWE, but you were giving us not just good pro wrestling, you were giving us stories accompanying that wrestling. And that's what made people attracted to you. That's what made people want to tune in and watch every week. That's what made people sell out Wembley the first time you went there. And now all of a sudden, you want to be more wrestling than story? It don't work that way, Tony. You're either in for the whole thing or you're not. You know what I'm saying? You're either in for the whole shebang or you're not. You either dive in full in to the deep end of the pool or you're just staying in the shallow. What's it going to be? Okay? What's it going to be? Because honestly, right now you're in the shallow end. You're in the shallow end. Even when I've gone to swimming pools, even I've gone a little into the deeper ends. Not totally deep, but I've gone midway through. Or at least try to. The point I'm getting at is if you're going to dive head first straight to the deep end and swim with the sharks, you better make sure you're ready to do that. You better make sure all hands are on deck. And right now, that's not the case. That's not the case, Tony. And what's even crazy about this is you have people speculating that all this is leading up to Tony either giving Hangman Adam Page or Darby Allin the ball to be his Sting, his hero for AEW over the Death Riders. Look, Adam Page right now makes more sense. And obviously it looks like they're going in a storyline direction to make that happen. How they get there from this story direction, if the story is going to make any sense, is another story in itself. Is another story in itself. But the other option being Darby Allin, we don't even know if Darby even going to be back. A lot of people are saying if he's doing the Mount Everest thing, for all they know, he'll be back all right, but he'll be back sealed in a pine freaking box. Is that what you're hoping for, Tony? That the guy you're looking at as your Sting, as your version of Sting, just because you paired him up with him, you're hoping that's the guy that's going to be your hero, if not Hangman? Is that what you're hoping? You're hoping to recreate Sting and Hogan with Allin and Mox? Let me explain something to you about that, okay? Let me explain something to you, all right? What made Sting and Hogan special is that it was built for over a year and a half, and it had layers upon layers and upon layers and upon layers built upon it that made it intriguing month after month, week after week, Monday after Monday, and sometimes occasionally clash after clash, pay-per-view after pay-per-view. It made it intriguing because you didn't know what Sting's loyalties lied. Even though as we got closer and closer to Starrcade 97, you started seeing where his loyalties lied. And they were building it from basically the late summer all the way up to mid-fall, early winter, to when we got the match. And again, they had basically previously, I should say, another half year previously to help build to it. And what made it even more interesting, you had the layers and layers built upon it and everything. What made it even more interesting is guess what? Sting at times was given the opportunity to outsmart the NWO. Yeah. He was able to play mind games, outsmart them. He gave WCW the courage to stand up and finally, take out the NWO and take back, their control of the company. And also, what made it even more interesting is they allowed the title to switch hands even for 5 days, for a week, if you will, when they allowed Lex Luger to beat Hulk Hogan in Detroit. that made things interesting because you're thinking, oh, good, we got the belt back, but we didn't know, I should say, it was only going to be for less than a week. You know, he lost it 5 days later back to Hogan, but still the point is they kept it interesting by having that happen. So, honestly, Tony, you could try your best to recreate, you know, Hogan and Sting with Allen and Mox. It's not going to be the same. You either got to go one direction and stick with it, or just call it off, call an audible, give it the title to whoever wins the Owen Hart tournament, and be done with this. Because there is no way in hell you are ever going to create Sting and Hogan. That's pretty much confirmed. And there's no way in hell, okay, that the Death Riders are going to be as good as the NWO. You know, period. End of discussion. And finally, you need to realize that you can't run a wrestling company and be 90% wrestling, 10% story. No, you need to be 50-50, equal, even Steven, and that in the long run will help your company grow. And also, by doing so, you allow the talent that, yeah, they're good in the ring, but potentially it could also be good outside of it, or even, you know, entertainment-wise, it'll allow them to explore their personalities and basically, you know, grow as a talent outside of the wrestling abilities. It's time to wake up, Tony. It's time to wake up and realize fun time's over. Either hand the ball off to somebody else, stop trying to pay homage to stuff or recreate it in your image, and be your own company. Don't try to be something else that you're not, because you're not WCW, and the Death Riders ain't the NWO, and I think